Welcome, everybody. Scott Jones back again with another Sober Life podcast. I want to thank you for joining us, taking some time out, maybe getting a little information about addictions, mental health, alcoholism, maybe even a little bit of trauma thrown in there too. But we try to bring you as much information as possible. But before we start the show, please remember, hit the like button and certainly subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends and leave comments. All of those things help us to build our audience and to get the message further. And if you want to be a guest on Sober Life Podcast, you've got a story to tell, make sure you put it in the comments. We'll read that and we'll reach out to you right here from the Sober Life Studios and One Brother, One Sister. All of that being said, we've got a great show for you today. We've got some people that I met, how long ago?
Wow.
We got 6 years, 7 years?
7, 8 years ago.
Maybe 7, 8 years ago. Wow. Time's fun when you're having flies. But I met these guys over at Ocean Breeze. We're going to tell you the whole story. But this is Pete and Kim Cogan. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Well, I appreciate it. And let's just get it out there. We're all people of recovery.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, for a lot of years between us all. But we also all work in the business as well. I just got to ask, did you guys meet in recovery, before recovery? How did that happen for you?
We met in recovery.
You met in recovery.
Yes.
We met in 2000 at a meeting. We got together in 2003, and we've been together ever since.
So it took him 3 years to get the guts to ask you out?
You got it.
Something like that. So he says. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. So you guys didn't know each other back in the old days. You didn't really, is that hard for you guys to imagine each other in those different positions, knowing you've only known each other sober?
Yeah, we have completely different backgrounds.
Yeah.
But same common problem, right?
Right, yeah.
Same common problem.
Yeah.
Different backgrounds. We probably wouldn't have mixed.
Probably not, right?
No, I don't think so. I think I'd have been terrified.
And likewise. She's
Hey!
beautiful stories.
Oh.
Right.
Well, it's the beautiful ones you got to worry about. Those are the ones that, you never see it coming when they go crazy.
Right.
Okay, I'll take that.
I've been there. And God rest my wife. We met in recovery. Then, unfortunately, we relapsed together. And then I made it back, and she never did. But but it's part of the story that we all have. So when you guys got together, is that when you decided to get involved in working with treatment centers and building treatment centers and doing all of that, or was that something you were already doing separately?
No, it wasn't something I was doing separately. I got sober originally in 1997, so I had a steel company. I was building pre-engineered steel.
I think I stole a company too once. You had a steel. Oh, okay.
Yeah, a steel company.
I got it. Okay.
So I didn't get involved until I had double digits in sobriety, until I really thought I had something to offer. And I really never thought about it. But then I had some sponsees, and I thought, inside of me, this thing was just turning, man. I don't know I don't even know how to explain it. Coming from the background that I come from, and then all of a sudden, I felt like I was on the other side of the spectrum trying to help people. And not so successful as a sponsor, so, at least I felt that way. I do have a couple people that I've known for 26 years that are still sober. But, on the other end of it, lost a lot of guys to this disease, this horrible disease. So, I wanted to help at a magnitude a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And so, at about 10 or 11 years sober, we put together a plan and we marched through with it, and no looking back. It just kind of took off.
No, was that you in the lead and you wanted to do that as well, or was that a desire for you as well?
Yeah, no, we had talked about it, and it was something that he had brought up, and I had just gotten out of going back to school, and just made a decision that we were both very successful in what we were doing. So it wasn't anything but we felt led to do it. And we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And
most don't. That's true.
We literally knew, nothing about it, and we're just willing to go in and see if we could actually make a difference. And we started out, it was an investment, and things happen with people that you get involved with, and unfortunately we went a different route. Well, they went a different route, and we stayed, and this came Ocean Breeze. So it was. I was telling him the other day, I remember Ocean Breeze when it was a cement building with cinder blocks and just starting out making the clients meals and, having like your first 5 clients, and then it went to like 300 over the years. And so like doing something else again is, it's like, you just expect everything to be the way it is. You have to crawl before you walk,
Right.
And it's the fun part. Now is the fun part when you're getting back into it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about your current project, but when you first got into this business, and you guys came together and you found a way to get invested and get involved and build Ocean Breeze, which was a beautiful treatment center.
Thank you.
Was there something in your head that said something needs to be better? Because generally people don't get in there and say, I want to do what everybody else does. Most people who go in have an idea like something's got to be better. I got to make it better than it is. Was there something specifically you guys thought that is missing from treatment?
Without a doubt.
I mean, back then, we'll talk about where you are now, but back then, what was it?
And I still think it's the same today. But back then, when you own something, it means something. When you have direct interaction with a client, right? As an owner, very few places do that. Right. They have a team. They're usually on the outside. The CEO barely come to work, never show up. I'm invested. I'm invested in trying to help people change their life. Right. And I wouldn't have gotten involved with this any other way. The only problem with that is you burn out, right? You burn out. Yeah. So there's got to be a balance. There's got to be, but again, I wouldn't change anything that we did at Ocean Breeze. I think, we have an alumni coming up on the 24th of September at our new facility, and we've got 108 kids showing up that have double-digit sobriety.
That you treated back?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty awesome, but to be completely transparent, we've also lost that many to this disease. So, there's never, it's bittersweet.
Yeah.
To say the least, it's bittersweet. It's joy and sadness at the same time. I hate this disease, but I respect it, wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. And I know that you were so involved, because you were so involved with helping the women, especially at Ocean Breeze. That was one of the things I remember about when I first met you is your heart with the women. That was so beautiful.
Thank you for that. And that's, I was just thinking when Peter was talking, I don't think we knew that we were doing things differently. I think I assumed everyone was going to be doing the things that we were doing. Yeah. And my heart was invested because that's my heart. And it just, it was a comfortable thing for me. It was the right thing for me. And there's nothing better than to see women, especially broken women, because it's a little difficult for women, let's just get that out there, than it is for men getting sober. And, if you go into a meeting now, AA, you'll see the ratio of men to women is small with the women. So I advocate for that because they're not as quick to jump in and, do the things that I've done. So a lot of it is leading by example and reaching down and finding out what they have, their core values that I can bring out to show them that they're really, they're worth a whole lot, and they suffer from all kinds of different things with, disorders of eating and, abuse and, some really difficult stuff that's not easy for them to talk about. And by the grace of God, I guess I just have that way of getting them to feel comfortable and opening up. And I've helped people that when they tell me today how much I've helped them, I don't realize the magnitude of it. I'm grateful for it, but they help me as well. And it's difficult because they say, your recovery isn't your work and you have to keep it separate, and we do for the most part. But if you don't have a heart in it, which you take your heart everywhere anyway, then it's probably not going to work out the way it has for us.
I think it's beautiful, the philosophy of you guys being involved as owners. Because I can only name, right? And I can only name one place off the top of my head is my friend Joe Bryant over at Beachcomber, but he was very involved and he knew the people and he talked, and it was not this big separation, but there's very few that do that. So that's really important, I find, especially when clients become so suspicious that the owners don't care, they're just here for the money.
Right.
But when they see you guys so active in the community, did you find that to be true, that they got a different experience because of that?
Absolutely, 100%. You saw the length of stay, the recidivism. If they came back to us. Very few people get this the first time around. That's just the way this is. It's just the way this disease works. I wish that we could cast a wand and render everybody sober, but it doesn't work like that. So we want to plant the seed, right? We want them to know that we care that they live. Because the bottom line is, we're back involved now because of this whole opiate crisis. It's just insane, right? We're losing 120,000 people a year, or whatever the number really is. God knows. This is what they tell us.
Well, as long as you jumped right up front there, let me do that.
Yeah.
Because you sold Ocean Breeze.
Right.
It's no longer functioning. So if you don't look it up because it's not there anymore. But you sold it. Were you expecting to get back into the business, or were you thinking, okay, we're just going to do something else for a while now? Or what was the thinking?
I think the thinking behind it was we definitely needed a break.
Yeah.
Then I lost purpose. I lost my main purpose as time went on.
Right.
My passion.
Mm.
And no money you can't put any dollar figure on that.
Right.
If I'm not walking around enjoying what I'm doing, it doesn't matter how much money I have. So for me, it was getting back with the passion, getting back into the trenches. And obviously, we had some calls from the state of Florida, asking us to reopen. When we had sold, they went through a whole revamping process down here, and the FBI came in, they kicked in a lot of doors.
Yeah.
A lot of things changed in this business.
Yeah.
A lot of things have done in mental health. Thank God, because this is a mental health disease. So, we're back where I believe I'm supposed to be. Right. This is my calling. I can't turn away from it anymore. I'm going to have to learn to do things differently than I did in the past, as far as my personal recovery is involved.
Self-care.
Self-care.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Right?
yes.
So it's very difficult. It's a very thin line, but a lesson learned.
Was this a hard decision for you, or are you the same way, just it's time to go back and do what we do?
Yeah, it was kind of like a no-brainer for me. It's definitely who we are. Like, I don't see us in any other way, and it's not, I can't tell you the amount of people that have told us, oh, it's not like it was 10 years ago. It's not like it was when you had Ocean Breeze. But, that doesn't deter us. Whatever's changed, we'll change with it. It's the idea of us being another vessel for people to come in and feel, cared for and loved on. And, this breaking down to build you up, it's not a philosophy we follow. I'm walking
They're
in there.
already broken down. Why
Yeah,
do you break somebody down who's already broken?
Yeah.
You can't
It
break
makes
them
no
anymore,
sense.
man.
No.
You just can't break them anymore. It's time to build them up.
Yeah. And that's, and I think that people can be suspicious of that as well. And you're too nice, or you're too kind.
Yeah.
What's your
Yeah,
motive behind it? And there's absolutely none. I can tell you that now. There's none. But we feel that this is something that we're supposed to be doing. It's not like you had mentioned when we walked in. If you're not called for something, it doesn't matter. You wouldn't be here, if things had gone a different way for you. But you're here because this is where you feel the happiest. And I always tell Peter, I spend 70% of my day working. I'm going to enjoy what I do because it's most of that day,
Absolutely. I mean, every once in a while it's like, it's time to sit down and pay bills. oh well, but maybe that's 15% of my time I do stuff I don't want to do.
Right.
But most of the time, because of the choices I made, and I know this is your heart as well,
Right.
it's like every day I wake up and I'm like, oh, great, another day. Let's go see what challenges it brings. Let's see what we can do.
Right.
And I'm so glad you guys are back. I am so
Thank you.
glad, because when you get the good people and they need to take a time out, you always hope, go take your time, but please come back. Please come back.
Yes, yes.
So that's awesome. So you opened Seaquell House,
Did.
and now Seaquell is spelled. You know what? I'm going to put it on the screen for everybody so you can see it.
Yeah.
Because if you try to spell it so that's SEAQUELL, Seaquell,
Yes.
and kind of a play on words, right?
It really is, because my whole idea with this, and it just popped up one day, was what's going to be the sequel to your life.
Hey, there you go.
What is it? You're here now. If I can do this, you can do this. My wife can do this. Why can't you do this?
And not all sequels are bad. Godfather 2 was better than Godfather
Yeah.
1.
Yes, it was. Right.
Exactly.
And we're hoping that sequel is going to. But I never believe people are bad trying to get good. They're sick trying to get well. Right. So, as you're sick trying to get well, big things are going to happen.
Right.
Not just I got to get them to believe that, right? And so the time that I take, that's what I talk about. It's more motivational than it's therapeutic coming from me. I don't have all those degrees.
Right.
I'm not prying through EMDR, which is a method of pulling out trauma.
Yeah.
We have that. We specialize in that. But I'm more like, you can do this. More of a cheerleader on the side, and I try to calm down situations, when someone's not getting their way. We all know what an addict and an alcoholic is like when they're not getting their way or they don't like the rules. I can't even tell myself what to do. I hate rules too, right?
Right.
But I mean, we all have to abide by it, right? So as we grow up, it's very painful. So I want to be there for that part of it, so they're not chastised. My staff is aware that I'm there, so they may act differently if I'm not, no matter who they are. So if I'm there, my clients have to come first.
You did this a little different because you didn't have detox
No.
before. So now you have the Seaquell Houses, detox and residential, which is great because most people are combining those things. That way people get a longer stay in one spot.
Correct.
And you get to monitor medically longer this way. And
Yes.
It's great. But why detox? Was that because I had thought about working with detoxes, and every time I said that's way too hard for me. Why did detox?
So to be completely transparent on your show, after 20 years of sobriety, I picked up the drug.
Okay.
Now I'm back a couple years now.
All right.
Right. So I went through a detox, and I was prescribed Suboxone. I was prescribed Xanax. I got into the fentanyl. So that detox for me was absolutely miserable. Right. And I went through a program, like I mentioned, and it was 40 or 50 days before I felt somewhat normal, just from detox. So I want to make sure that when I open this, I want to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can with my doctor, who I'm very close with, right? My MD, my ARNP. I want these people treated, not to get them high, but to make sure they're comfortable while they're going through such a difficult
I
transition.
always wondered that. Why is it? It's almost like an automatic. Well, put them on this right away.
Right.
That should be an option, but not the first option every time. And I think we end up with people who might not need it. I had a friend of mine who had hip surgery, and they wanted to give him oxys for pain. And he said to the doctor, "Am I going to be in pain?" He goes, "Well, you might be." Well, give me ibuprofen. If the pain
Yeah.
gets bad, I'll call you.
That's
But don't
amazing.
let me take this stuff home.
Right.
And so with detox, it's the same thing. They just automatically have these knee jerks. And again, it's because of what's been going on for so long. It takes somebody to come along and say, "Hey, why don't we do it different?" I'm glad you are. But is that something that bothered you as well?
Yeah, I believed that we have the philosophy the same as we did with Ocean Breeze, that we wanted to have it different, and detox is kind of basic. So we wanted to just implement the same things that we've had from the treatment before into the detox, which really is working out.
It's
So
So
working
you're putting a
Wow.
little more clinical into the detox.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
Yes.
excellent.
Yeah,
Doing
I
more.
believe that if you start right away, and a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of pushback on this because a lot of people are like, oh, they're not coming around you. They're not coming. Oh, yes, they are. They're there
Well,
and
you're
they're
at least
feeling like
planting a
work,
seed, even
Yeah.
if it's a little fuzzy.
Yeah.
It's a start.
but they're feeling a certain way. I want to address the way they're feeling right then and right there so we can capitalize on where their trauma might be or why they're feeling so bad about what they've done.
That makes a lot of sense. I like that. And the fact that you couldn't do that if you didn't have the res attached to it, because you would start a process that would get flipped upside down the minute they go somewhere
I've
else.
had so many
You know?
places start this, right? They rip open a wound and then they're not able to close.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So, that depends on your staff, and we have full, for lack of a better term, I just have belief and the credentials behind these people, they're incredible. We have a therapist that he's just incredible. She's a side D, and she carries our heart, right? It's the client first. Their needs are first, right? And she can spot. She's just an amazing person. We found some amazing people at Ocean Breeze, and we're finding amazing people again. So I know that something's going on that's greater than us down here, because we're not that brilliant.
Well, there were years and listen, again, full transparency. A few years back, 10 or 15 years ago, Florida got a bad rep because everybody was out for the money.
Yeah.
And now it's a rarity when you meet those people. They're still out there. Every business has got people.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah.
But it's not as often that you meet them. Before it was every person was falling into that, except for the few, but they were going out of business because they were getting driven out. And now Florida is actually becoming a model for people because we have such oversight and we have such things like that.
And thank God for that oversight.
Yeah, and thank God. And now we've got good people coming back in and making changes that are important.
Yeah, we're not hurting cattle.
No.
No.
We're not hurting cattle. It's not about how many beds I can fill anymore.
Yeah.
It's about how many people I can really help in those beds.
So how many people do you have?
I will not go higher than 40 beds.
Oh,
I just
okay.
won't.
That's a mid-size.
Yeah.
It's not quite boutique, a little bit bigger, but then you're going to have people at a lot of different stages. You're going to have a lot of people in detox and people here,
Right.
and I'm sure you probably detox people for other centers too as well.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
well, a little bit we have, but we're also, we have something that we're working on right now where the first responders is going to be a huge model for us. And we've dedicated one of our buildings to it. We have 4 buildings, and one of them is going to be specifically for them. And that's why Karen and you all have really brought us into even more excitement about it, because we're getting to meet people and see how things are done and the right way to do things with that as well. But we're excited. We also take people that are in relationships, because being people in relationships, you don't get that all the time where they allow you to come in if you get it at all. And we just had our first couple, and it was pretty much a success.
Yeah.
So we're excited.
I think there's a lot of couples that would probably benefit from that. You're not talking about the people that, hey, I met on the bus ride to.
Oh,
No.
my gosh.
I mean, we've seen those, right?
Yeah.
This guy right
She's
here.
This is my running partner. We decided to
My
take a
running
break.
partner.
No.
But there are couples that could benefit from that.
Yeah, and we get all that information in the intake, and get to before they even get to our facility to see if it's going to be a fit.
And one of the other things we're doing is this MAP program. Okay, and if you had asked me 10 years ago, I'd have been, no, that's a crutch, man, because of this fentanyl crisis.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What do? I'd rather see somebody, right, on something that's prescribed than something that they're going to go out and die from, right? So we have to do our part. And I think if everybody was more invested in doing their part, making sure that trauma was covered, Matt is covered, we'd have less deaths. I'm not saying no one's going to die from this disease, because we all know that that's nonsense.
Yes, but we should never be happy with it.
Exactly.
We should never reach a number and say, okay, that's acceptable.
It's like somebody sitting on
One
the
is
sidelines with a vote, right?
Yeah, yes,
I don't
yes,
like
yes.
him and I don't like her, and I'm not voting,
Right,
right? So I can bitch about one of them that gets elected.
right,
Right.
right.
So I can't do that anymore. I can't sit by. I got to be involved. I got to do my part, right? If everybody does their part, maybe we can cut into this.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, when Matt, first started rearing its head, which was about 8-9 years ago, or
Yeah.
whatever it was, I was like, "What? This doesn't make sense to me."
Yeah.
And to me, it's government sanctioned addiction is what it is, or it's
Right.
this. And then I started talking to people who were serious about that. Some people who were just doing it,
Right.
but then the people who were serious about it, and it's not supposed to be a lifetime solution.
No.
No.
And as long as they're not talking about that, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But some people need more time to adjust, to build, to deal with traumas, to deal with all of those
Correct.
things. And it needs to be medically managed, and I get that. And it makes sense to me now.
Now it does to me too. Yeah. Didn't at first.
Yeah, it's very, very different. A lot of things have changed. A lot
Right.
of things have changed.
Yeah, they have.
You know,
They certainly have.
The numbers, just so you know, that I mean, for our people, just for reference, what we've seen is in the last 2 decades, 20 years, we've seen well over 750,000 people die from overdose.
Yeah.
And it's going up. It's not going down. It's going up.
No.
And in that increase, the next 20 years, we will see 3 million people die. And so we need to do different things. What we're doing isn't working. We're not winning this battle. We've got 12-step groups. Great. It's not winning the battle. We got retreatment centers. Great. Not winning the battle. We got churches, once again, getting involved in their communities.
Yeah.
Still not winning the battle. So we got to all keep trying. There's
Yeah.
got to be different things.
Yes.
So thank you for coming back and doing it.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
How does it feel to walk through Seaquell and know that what you guys envision is happening?
You know, walking through there, it's a feeling I can't even put to words. It's home. It's home. It's like I've never stepped out, but yet we've got so much more to be grateful for. So much more, belief in this power, and whether it's a universe, whatever you believe in, something's going on real magical there, right? Like it did at Ocean Breeze. And it's, all we're doing is showing up and doing our thing. But I think if your heart's involved in anything that you do, it's always special, right? It always radiates from the inside out, right? So, we've been through all the money, we've been through all the stuff, right? We know that doesn't fix anybody. It never did,
Right.
right?
And
So-
that was an accident. We
Right.
weren't even trying before,
Right.
so
Right, so
it's not of
It is.
importance now.
it's more that we're settled and invested. And when you're invested in something, you want it to work, right? And it doesn't matter how bad I want it to work or how bad my wife wants it to work. It's a team effort,
Yeah.
right? And so if I can get my team, which we've been able to do again, once again, like we had at Ocean Breeze, if my team follows what our vision is, right? And all it is compassion for the client. That's all it is. You can't break down someone that's broken.
This should not be a novel idea.
This is not
This should
rocket
not. This should have
science,
been the
man.
first thing we've known
Yeah.
from the beginning of time.
Right.
Right.
There's no
Treat them
dunce
with
cap.
kindness.
Right. There's no dunce caps going on your head. There's none of that stuff. So,
How demanding is that?
for us,
Yeah.
there's one thing you can't teach, and that's give a.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you can say it.
All right,
Okay.
you can't. Oh, all right, cool. You
Give a
can't
shit.
give a shit.
Yeah.
You can't
You
teach
can't
it.
teach it.
You can't teach it. You can teach everything else in this business, but you can't teach give a shit.
Yeah.
Right.
You either do or you don't. You're either connected to the work or you're not.
And so we will.
Doesn't mean you have to be in recovery to be connected, but
Correct.
you have to be connected.
Right.
Yeah.
It can't be a job where you just go get your paycheck. You see your 10 clients a week and you move on. It can't be that.
Right.
Right.
We've had enough of that.
Yeah, we sure have.
It doesn't work.
Nope.
It doesn't work. And this whole thing about breaking people down, especially with women,
Yeah.
there has been such a stigma on women for years. God forbid a woman's pregnant and still in an addiction. You know what the label that puts on her.
Oh,
Oh,
of
yes.
course.
And all those kind of things. Are you still working with them? And is that still a personal mission for you?
Yes, and I was able to get, my therapist license when we were in Ocean Breeze, and I'm expanding it more. I just want to anything. I'm like a sponge right now. I want to learn every different model that they have to help these women, because there's so many different things, and I know that I can, and that's the beauty in it. So I'm definitely looking forward to helping all of the women that come through there, and the men. I just really take pride in working with the women. I identify with a lot of it, and like I said earlier, they don't have as much, and I don't even know if I'm saying it right to put a stigma on it, but women in sobriety have a much more difficult time. And whether it is what they come in with when they first arrive, or whatever it isn't, there's not something, it doesn't matter what they did out there. They're willing to change, and they're willing to make changes in their life to be a sober human being.
There's a maternal thing in society. Women are expected to act a certain way.
Yes.
And that still exists, but it's silent more.
Yes.
But it still exists, where they're judged differently by their emotions, judged differently by how they act. And so they're constantly like under a microscope, much more than men.
Yeah.
So to actually go in and especially if you're a mom, to go in and have done it. Listen, a father abandons his kids because he's a drunk. He's a drunk.
Yeah.
A mother abandons her kids because she's addicted to something, and she becomes so much worse. It's a monster. It's a horrible thing, and that's not right.
No,
we need to be putting all of the responsibility on each individual equally. And yes, there's prices to pay for our acts and our actions, but it should not be based on our gender. But it still is. It still is, and the stigma's much worse. And you guys are also getting involved to help first responders. That gets into another area where, listen, if you're a police officer, a firefighter, a military vet, or anybody like that, any kind of asking for help is a sign of weakness for them.
Oh, yeah.
And so now there's a whole other thing we've got to get over with that. I just want to get rid of the stigma where it's okay not to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
When people come in broken, we don't break them more, we lift them up. If somebody comes into a hospital with a broken arm, you don't break his freaking leg too. But that's what treatment centers do. They're going to spend all the time telling you what a piece of shit you are, and then tell you how you're going to get better, instead of saying, wow, just for surviving addiction, you're a survivor, you have strength, you're amazing. Now let's take it to the next level.
Yes. And
It's funny you brought that up. I'm sorry. It's funny you brought that up, because when you talk about the first responders, I have an uncle that was a Jersey State trooper, a lot of military in my family. My brother went to Annapolis. My father was in Korea.
Yeah.
So when it came to me growing up, born in New York, and then growing up in a suburb after a certain amount of time, with the stigma being tough as an All-American athlete. And so I get it. I get that. And I don't know whether it's generational. It seems more now that they seem to talk about their feelings than they ever have.
Yeah.
But when I grew up, there was a difference. You never spoke about what went on in your family, what was going on in the house, right? There was a lot of violence. I was in terror. I was in fear. I didn't know that until I got to AA, or I got to my 12-step program. I didn't know any of that.
Right.
The only thing I did was mask it with anger and rage and alcohol. And so,
which was perfectly acceptable for a man to do.
Absolutely. I was
as a matter of fact, almost expected.
Expected.
Yes.
Expected. Right. So when I got there and it was broken down, and then all these feelings started to come up, right? I felt weird about who, because I had no idea who I was going to become or who I even was.
Right.
Right. And so, and I think this is what's going on today, the same as it was then, right? Maybe they're talking about it, but these feelings seem to be mixed up. These feelings that they're not accurate with what we're doing to ourselves. Right?
Well,
So,
it's almost like, so they've gained a little bit more on self-awareness of feelings, but they've lost something on connections to others that we had.
yes.
Because of internet and phones and this and that. And they don't have the same kind of connections we had. With our best friends, we had each other's backs.
Right.
And so we were better at relationships in a way than people are now, because everything's a throwaway. The relationships are throwaway. Marriages are throwaway. Everything's a throwaway. So, you guys are dealing with a lot trying to move through this stuff. Is there anything that really surprises you in today? I don't want to say we've seen it all, because the minute you say that, something horrible happens. I don't want to say that.
Right.
But are there things that surprised you today? Like for me, it was things like when Flocka came out. And
Yeah,
now fentanyl. And fentanyl is what my wife died 4 years ago from fentanyl overdose. And these things now surprise me that we still keep finding worse and worse things.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
what surprises you?
One of the things that surprised me is the treatment. The treatment that we used to get back, this is just 10 years ago, and when we tell somebody that, you're going to die if you continue this way. Today you say it, they already know it. So how do you get through to that addict? Right? So that's been very, very eye-opening.
Gotcha.
Eye-opening, to say the least. The drugs are going to come and go. This Flocka, whatever stuff that eats your flesh. I mean, never did it yet, right?
Right.
Because I don't judge anybody by what they do.
No.
But I get it. I get being so uncomfortable in your skin, right? So no, I haven't been surprised. I'm just surprised, that I'm surprised at this, that I haven't changed my idea of wanting to shake the addict and get it out of him and let him know that there's a better way to live, man. That life can be so much better if you just surrender to this fucking thing. And the problem is getting there and finding out how to do that differently than what we did at Ocean Breeze, because it seems to run awfully deep now, even deep.
You
That's
have
what
to
I'm
find that
surprised
little
about.
light.
And I'm surprised that it's so buried. It's so buried. And so a guy that comes from AA, right? That's hey Pete, if you don't drink, you can't get drunk. Is that too deep for you? I got that. That doesn't work with everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But the plug in the drug just doesn't work, and your life's going to get better. Have faith and follow me.
I think what you said was accurate. Because years ago, it was like we had a value of life. It's like you're going to die, and that meant something.
Yeah.
But to today, especially with the youth, we've got 11-year-old kids texting each other FML, which is fuck my life.
Yeah.
Sorry for the language, but
Yeah.
that's what they're saying. And so that basically life has lost a lot of its value.
Yeah.
And so you're right. How do you grab somebody who doesn't care if they live or die? And really just more on it, just it's not even about I don't even think they're thinking about real death. I'm thinking it's like unplugging a video game. It just doesn't have the same value.
So the only thing I know to do is just compassion.
That's
Really?
well.
Yeah, and it seems to be working. I mean, it's going to take some time. The worst thing about insurance companies and everything else is your 30 days. Well, we've never done that. We've had people with us for 2 years, if we have to.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where we're at. That's where we're always going to be. And, when you get it, you get it. I don't know when anybody's going to get it. I can't make that call. But I refuse to let somebody leave maybe just a little better than they came in. No, I want them to understand that their life has value.
You want to make sure they got sure footing before they step out. Of course.
Yeah. What's the sense of doing this?
What are you the same way? What has surprised you coming back and working in this?
I think what surprised me the most is, obviously we have to roll with the times and the things that are going on in the world, but I think we're very LGBTQ friendly.
Yeah.
Let me get that off my tongue. It's huge for me because it's also another stigma where they don't feel that they fit in enough. Still to this day, 2024, that they can't be someplace and be treated like anyone else, and without having all the pressures that they already have and what brought them to, be where they are, who they are. It doesn't matter. When it comes to this, they're just like everyone else. And that's just another really important thing. So I think what surprises me is that people are slow to catch up with that,
And what's so strange is that this disease has never discriminated.
No.
It's never discriminated. And so people involved in this treatment, I mean, we got a call, and I'm not going to mention any names, but we had 2 homosexual men that needed, as a couple, but they would only detox and they wouldn't let them in their residential program. Of course, we took them. They were some of the best clients that we've had so far. So again, pushing them out, again, because of the stigma, they're already coming in with one.
Yeah.
How do we answer to that as a treatment center? How do you not talk negative about the study you just had? Again, I won't mention names because it's none of my business.
No, of course not.
It's my business to grab those people. That's why we're back. That's part of the reason we're back, right? It's because
Love that.
we're not leaving anybody behind here, man.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what the statistics are, whether it's a gay guy, a lesbian, a black person, a white person, an Indian. There's still a statistic when they're buried. So whatever happened to the declaration, when they reach their hand out, I need to grab it. For that, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
And there it is. So that's my heart. It's her heart. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Yeah,
And,
I am responsible when somebody reaches out the hand.
Oh, sure.
That I am responsible.
So, yeah.
And now it's really turned a lot more into text me, and I'll see if I'll figure out if I want to answer you.
Well, let me see what kind
It's
of
gotta be-
insurance
yeah, let me
policy
see what you got and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, right.
I mean, this is tough now. Here's the biggest problem. I think we discussed this, I think maybe right at the very beginning, but there's not one answer for everybody. We know this.
No.
I would love that if there
Me
was.
too.
I mean, millions of people are dying, and it is too much. But everybody is a little bit different. We share a disease.
Sure.
Certainly, we share a disease. If you don't like the idea of it being a disease, call it a dis-ease. It's just a mess.
Sure.
We share that. But how it affects us is different. Where it came from is different.
Yeah.
What it does to us is different. Some
Absolutely.
people get angry, some people get silly, some people steal, some people hide. Everybody's different. So this is the one disease where you're actually not treating a disease, you're treating a person
Right.
so that they can transcend that.
Yes.
But each person's different. How do you address that? So many people say we're an individualized program, and you go in there and you find out everybody gets the exact same thing,
That's,
which is not what I don't get. It's not individualized.
yeah.
How do you move towards individualization while still maintaining the community? That must be difficult. Is that something you strive for?
Oh,
It is, but
absolutely.
it's doable.
Yeah, it's absolutely doable. And one of the things that I like to do is, obviously, when you sit someone down and they're talking to an owner, it's a different story. For some reason, they're more apt to talk about where they come from, what they've gone through, and either I'm going to relate or I'm not, right? But I know exactly where they are, no matter what story they held up a 5 and dime, or if they're out doing sexual favors. What's the difference? It's the disease concept has always been the same. It's but a symptom to an underlying problem that needs to be addressed. And how we address that is to open their heart first. We have to open their heart and let them know we care. We want you to be in a safe environment, secure, and know none of this is going anywhere else. But for your benefit, you need to open up and let us help you.
I assume at the end of the day, if they don't open up, you'll never find out where their trauma comes from
No.
or what they need help with.
My job
And
is
you
to
need
drop
them
that
to open up.
Yeah, my job is to drop that seed.
We got too
So
many
that's
people walking around there saying, I know exactly what they're going through. It's like, no, you don't,
Yeah.
unless you've talked to them for hour after hour and spent time.
No, I made a mistake a long time ago. I got sober. And God rest her soul, Tommy D, who knew Bill W., right?
Okay.
She was a very powerful woman. It was my wife's great-grand sponsor. And she was one of 2 people in the country that had keys to Bill's house, and she would do tours. I said to my sponsor outside the Mountain Group, which was my home group for years in Fort Lauderdale, and I said to my sponsor one day, his father had passed and mine had passed. And I said to him, I know exactly how you feel. And she pulled me on the side and she said, never tell anybody you know how they feel. You know how you feel. And I've never forgotten that. Never forgotten. I think I had 15 years sober at the time. So you're constantly learning if you want to.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think staying teachable and present in treatment is the gift. It's the gift that gets bestowed upon you, and how it's received, right, is how we deliver it. Right. This never works. Right. This does. This is the language of the heart. It's always been. That's never going to change. This isn't 1939 anymore. We were writing a big book. There was no crack or heroin going on back then. I mean, there was, no
It's a
flocka.
different animal.
It's a different animal. We have to change. We have to constantly shift. We have to be willing to make those changes to make our treatment center that much better. Otherwise, we're just like everybody else.
And I think the biggest thing for me is that like Peter said, when planting the seeds, because as soon as they walk in, I'm already thinking about what they should start doing to get ready for when they leave. So it's a lifetime thing. We're teaching them things
Right.
that the next stage, whatever that may be, and hopefully it's to continue on the path that they're on, is dealing with those core issues that we're able to, even at the limited time that we have, find or be able to make a breakthrough with. So that it's important to me that we have that follow-up care and that constant movement for them, just to guide them correctly, because a lot of them come in, they have no idea what it's about, believe it or not, and they have no idea what to do then, now, later, when they leave. That's the first questions we get, like, what am I going to do in 30 days? We're going to wait until we get to 30 days, but it's difficult for them. So you have to kind of, work with them and just keep them vigilant with the fact that we're going to get you there.
And as you get to know them, their path grows, because
Yes.
it'll be different than everyone else's.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own.
Yeah.
There's a lot of treatment centers that do a lot more talking and a lot less listening. And that's got to be reversed. We got to do a lot more listening.
Yeah.
If we listen enough, we don't have to talk as much, because we will know what to say.
I know how to help them then.
Yes.
Now I know what I'm doing.
But it's not coming from, I got knowledge. It's coming from, I know how to listen to people and find out what they need
Yeah.
and give them that.
Right.
Bob and Mary don't both need the same things.
No, they don't.
Other
And
than-
everybody's unique.
everybody's unique.
And you have to treat everybody like they're unique, because they really are.
Under the same umbrella of kindness, love, and compassion.
Right.
So you got to
And
give
that
them that.
stems
Not
out to
judgment.
something,
Not ordering.
Right.
Love and tolerance.
Not the intolerance is crazy. They bring somebody in who's been on the streets for 6 years, and they say, okay, day one, you're going to sit still, follow the rules, do this and do that. How do you expect people to do that?
It's funny you mentioned that.
I know adults who have been in recovery for 30 years can't sit still for more than
No.
20 minutes.
Right.
I mean, come on.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Funny you brought that up, is we have a kid that we got, we scholarshiped him. He's off the street.
All right.
And, he walks by a garbage can and he looks at it. And I said, let him be. Give him some time.
He has to decompress.
He's
And
got to, this is kind of like coming back from war, man. You're at war with yourself. You have to be
deprogrammed.
deprogrammed, for lack of a better term. You have to be desensitized. You have to let them adjust. I can't force somebody to adjust.
No, it's not magic.
Yeah,
you just
no.
can't make it happen. You've
No.
got to be patient.
Yeah.
And you've got to find your pathway to them. And it's not, like I said, it's not the same. Some people are sitting down and talking about sports for an hour. And it's just having a connection to another human being.
It's,
How many
Right.
people come through are so guarded they won't even talk to anybody.
Right.
And then when they leave, I got to ask, we've all had those nights, before we wrap up. And wait, before I do this, I do want to remind everyone, please go check out Seaquell House. You can call them at 888-491-7153 or go to sequellhouse.com. It's right in Pembroke Pines, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Pembroke Pines, which is just outside of Fort Lauderdale. Not hard to get to, very easy to get to. And you encourage people to call or ask questions,
Absolutely.
stop by.
Yeah.
You
Somebody
know,
will answer
go
the
to
phone
the
24/7. Go to the
website,
website. Check us out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to know what they're doing over there, you have any questions, and especially if you have a loved one, call and talk to somebody.
Yes, please.
Don't just look at the pretty pictures on the website. Talk to somebody. Okay. But that's important. We've all had those nights where we've gone to bed after we just found out that someone that we truly put time and effort and care into lost their battle. We hear it all too often. I know that I get the calls at least twice a month, just because of all the time I've spent working with people, and Karen as well. I'm sure you guys do too. And I don't sleep those nights, and I don't accept it as, oh well, somebody has to die, because I don't believe that.
No.
And there's part of me that sometimes when I hit the pillow, I said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. But when I wake up the next morning, there's things that motivate me. What is it that motivates you when we hit those walls and we realize we're only human, we can only do so much? What motivates you to keep going personally?
I just have that never give up. Whether it was instilled in me or raised or that scratching and clawing to survive. I want to be able to pass that on to someone else because, you were talking before, so much the client gives up because they don't know what to do now. So we're guiding them through treatment. We're talking about court dates that they're missing. Not that they want to, they just have no interest or just given up. They've given up, and when you give up, right now is the time where you can be effective. As someone that's sober, someone that's, in a treatment center, a therapist, somebody that's got some compassion. What makes me tick in the morning is that I know in front of me during that course of the day, I'm going to have something pretty important that somebody's life is depending on, right? And I can't take that like, maybe not. I have to be very vigilant in how I follow those steps, what I hear from above, what I hear inside me, and my team, right?
Yeah.
So there's always something going on in a treatment center that you can make better because there's no perfect setting anywhere in life, right? We've all learned that.
Absolutely.
But there's always room to grow, right? So I want to be able to pass that on to that client, give them a little bit of hope. That's why I get up.
Mm-hmm.
And how about you? Do you have a personal thing, maybe an experience or something that keeps you going?
Yes, it's everything that the people that were there for me believed in when I didn't, that they saw that I couldn't and never gave up on me. So there are mornings that I wake up and it's not the joyous and free that I feel most mornings. On those days, I know how now to ground myself to make that better. And it's usually thinking about, what, I've got this, and this to do. And God leads me. That's my higher power. He's the one who's going to run the show. I have got to literally every day in the shower say, God, you know how I am. So please, let's drive together. And it works. But, I think that for me, it's just the people that didn't give up on me. And it's learning that that if I did it and I was in that dark place, that I can show somebody else that they can too.
Wow. You guys reminded me of the poem about footprints in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
When the guys walk in, and then during his hardest times, he only saw one set, and God said, "That's when I carry you."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, maybe there's times, and maybe we need to, us people, do our part, and maybe sometimes we should see hundreds and hundreds of footsteps during those hard times. Those are the times when we all got together and carried you, and we came together as a team, like Seaquell House, to carry people when they were having a hard time.
Yes.
So you guys are doing great work. I'm so proud of you guys.
Thank you.
This is fantastic. I haven't even called them over to senior place yet. I hope there's an invitation.
Of
it's
course
always
there
open.
is.
But I do get out. You cannot lock me in there, no matter how I act. No matter how I act.
No locks.
I've been keeping it sober for a while now. I'm good, but I'm always still afraid of getting locked down somewhere.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things that happens in your head, right?
Yes.
So Seaquell House, we want to check that out. Final thoughts. Somebody out there right now is suffering, or more importantly, someone that they love is suffering and they're not sure what to do. What do you want to tell them, Pete? We'll start with you.
Well, the hardest thing to do is to ask for help, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be an alcoholic or an addict. It's even a loved one. That's stigma again, But this has to be a community effort. This has to be more than one person. This takes restructuring. This takes rebranding. This takes reconstruction, right? So you can't do this alone. I couldn't do this for a family member. Unfortunately, we are so, attached in an unhealthy way when it comes to a family member. Whether you think you're enabling or not, you are, right? We have to let go. We have to let go at some point to save this alcoholic and addict, and trust where you're placing them, that they're going to get the help that they need. And we know that. We know how difficult that is. We really do. We work very closely with the family. We always have. It's not something we're ever going to stop doing, because this isn't just the addict. It's the whole family. It's a family disease.
Absolutely.
It makes, and everybody learns that when they come to, I stole my father's car, I did this. Now, how about the emotional extortion that's been taking place for 20 years since you've been using, the lying, the manipulating, everything that we brought into, the resentments that I have as a parent with my kid, the resentments I have as my loved one, right, that I'm hiding, that I'm going to need help with. They don't get enough help themselves. And I think to help the addict, you got to help yourself, right? Especially if they're coming back home to a toxic environment, because they're never going to be okay there. It's not.
Kim, I would love for you, if you don't mind, I'm going to point you in a direction, because
Sure.
one of the groups that never gets addressed are the mothers, who are trying to maintain, and they're trying to cover either their addiction or their compulsive behaviors or their behavioral addictions, whatever they have going on, and they're trying to cover it because they feel so responsible to the family, and they're not allowed to suffer, and they're hurting, and they want help, but they're so afraid. What do you want to tell those mothers out there?
That's an easy one. I'm a mother, and I've dealt with just about everything that comes with being a mom, on both sides. And I would tell you that you need to believe that I believe. If you don't, you can take my belief with me that I didn't have at one time, and know that that's what I needed. And it wasn't something that I believed in, but I desperately wanted. And it's tough being a mom, but you're not alone. And I think that's the comfort, and that's what I can offer to tell you, that there's nothing that you've done that hasn't been done, that can't be changed, and light coming after you full swing, because mom is a huge job.
It's almost like they have to step through the shame to see what's on the other side. Don't stop at the shame. Step through it.
Step through it. Yes. And believe that I believe, because that was enough for me. And we'll get you there. Hand in hand, we'll get you there.
One thing I can say for sure is you two do believe. You believe everyone deserves an opportunity, and you believe everyone has an equal shot at being okay. And I appreciate the work you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, guys. I want to thank our guests, Pete and Kim
Thank you.
Kogan, from what the hell's the name? Seaquell. I got so lost in the conversation, I forgot. Seaquell House Detox and Residential. Please check it out. In the comments, I will have the direct contact, as well as the board that I have shared throughout the show right there, and that way you guys can get in touch with them. But also, don't forget, I'm going to remind you once again, please like this show, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments. For Sober Life Podcast, my guests Pete and Kim, and everyone here at the Sober Life Studios, and One Brother, One Sister, everyone take care. Have a great day. We'll catch you next time right here on the Sober Life Podcast. Bye-bye now.